Hold on tight. The champ is here. Mikey is raising the roof. He is loving it.
Let's be real for a second.
Let's be real. I'm excited to be real today. Mikey, we're now explain yourself.
I don't hate Russell Wilson.
Todd hates T.Y. Hilton. I know why he likes Nick Foles. Do you know why? Because he scored 55 points against them in the championship game last year.
Running backs in Andy Reid's system is just fantasy gold mine. Sign me up there, man.
Yeah, and he's passing for 1,000 too because his offensive weapons are shit.
Maybe. Oh, my God. I can't even believe this, Eric. Todd comes out with some outlandish shit.
Come on.
But that one wins the night.
You deserve the torture of watching those games if you get them.
There's a problem with all those names. None of those guys are good.
Exactly. That's my point. That is 100% my point.
Hey. All I'm saying. Hey, I'm a very unique individual. You know, that's the.
I'm sure all the owners think so.
Oh, man. Just when I think that they're out, they pull me back in.
Welcome back to another edition of the MHA podcast. Football season is almost here. We're going to talk about everyone's favorite position, at least in the fantasy world, and that's running backs. You guys excited to talk about running backs?
Heck yeah, dime a dozen. Let's go.
Right out of the gate. Couldn't even wait.
Yeah, I'm
right
sorry.
out of the gate.
You know, hey, got to give the people what they want.
I guess so.
All right.
Is that what the people want?
I don't know.
Mikey, is that what you want?
Yeah, I was kind of waiting for him to do it.
Right out of the gate.
He got out of the way. Maybe we don't have to hear it the rest of this podcast.
I doubt that. Give me one running back you're excited to talk about. It could be positive. It could be negative. It could be a weird reason, and I'm sure we'll talk about him, but just give me one name. We'll start with you, Mikey.
I'm going to say Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yep, that's definitely going to be an interesting one. Todd?
I'm gonna go with David Johnson just because I think he's gonna have a bounce back year.
Very good. I'm going to say Aaron Jones just because I think people are not on board with the Aaron Jones train. So it'll be interesting to hear what you guys have to say. And before we get into the running backs, there's no really any news because we kind of did it on the wide receiver episode. So we'll go right into some MHA trivia.
All right, Brain. You don't like me and I don't like you. But let's just do this and I can get back to killing you with beer. It's a deal.
You guys ready for this?
Oh,
you guys did horrible last time.
Well, it's my thing, you know.
It's your thing to be bad at trivia?
You know, in certain things, yes. I mean, if this was college football, hey, I'd be, you know.
What? You're going to bring college football into this podcast? That's kind of blasphemous, isn't it?
I mean,
Mikey, what should we do?
I mean, he's going to be missing a lot of college football because all these conferences are canceling. I'll let him have it.
I mean, the ACC's not canceling, so that's good. So I can see my Hurricanes, so that's good. All right, go ahead.
Neat. All right, guys. Get ready for some MHA trivia. There have been so in 2019, there were 15 running backs that ran for at least 1,000 yards. 15 of them.
Okay.
There were 13 running backs that had 50 or more receptions. So 13 running backs had 50 or more receptions. There were 5 running backs that did both. Can you name them? And we'll just go back and forth. Todd, you get first guess.
McCaffrey.
Well, no. Mikey gets to go first because you won the game last time. So good job. So Mikey has to go first because he was the loser last time. Yeah, you had the dunce cap on. Just imagine. Boing! Dunce cap. So go ahead.
All right. Leonard Fournette. Todd, it's your turn.
Very good. Leonard Fournette is one of those. He had 1,152 yards and 76 receptions. Well done, Miguel. Todd?
McCaffrey.
Very good. Christian McCaffrey. You guys are killing this game. 1,387 yards, 116 receptions. Mikey, your turn. See, Mikey acts like he doesn't know, but he's got his notes in front of him, and I know he takes good notes. So just give me the damn answer. Quit hopping around it.
Damn. I'm going to go Dalvin Cook.
That is correct. He had little over 1,100 yards and 53 receptions. Todd, your turn.
Austin Eckler.
Oh, I'm sorry. That is incorrect. I don't know how. I'll look at his number and tell you why you're wrong. Let me see here. Austin Eckler. He didn't have 1,000 yards rushing, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he only had 557 yards rushing, but he did have 92 receptions. So sorry. Mikey, where's my Your turn, Mikey. You've gotten 2 right, so with 1 here, you win the game.
How many more are there left?
There are 2 left.
2 left.
So we've had Christian McCaffrey. I didn't really have him in order, but Christian McCaffrey, Leonard Fournette, Dalvin Cook. You're still missing 2.
I'm going to go with Zeke.
That is correct. Mikey wins the game. Ding, 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 ding. Congratulations. Zeke had 1,357 yards and 54 receptions. So who are we missing, gentlemen? Anybody can chime in.
Saquon?
It was Saquon. Wow, Mikey killed it today. I'm never going to call him a loser again. Saquon had just over 1,000 yards rushing and 52 receptions. So those are some top guys, and those are guys that should go, or should they go, in the first round. Anybody picking Leonard Fournette in the first round? Guess that's a no.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Oh, no, Mikey, no. Just keep going. No.
But where did Leonard Fournette finish in our rankings last year, Mikey? Because I know you got that number in front of you. Oh, maybe you don't. You did pretty well in the receivers.
Let's see. 7th?
He finished 8th overall in our league, so pretty close. So why wouldn't he be a first-round pick now? Let's just talk about Leonard Fournette.
Well, because the fact is he wants more money.
What's that got to do with anything?
I'm just saying he's not.
He can't be a top 10. I mean, maybe it's even more than a top 10 running back, just depending on how many running backs are going in the first round. But what's that got to do with anything?
He's injury prone too.
I like Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, no.
I don't know how much you like him. I have.
I have him in my top 10.
Oh, whew, yeah, that's a lot more than I like him for sure.
21st for me.
21st. I have him 20th, so I don't hate him. Why do you like him so much, Miguel?
I like his consistency. 6 out of the 16 games, 14, 10 plus. That's what you look for in your running back. They asked him to become more of a receiver. He had 76 catches. Like, I get that their offense is not great, but he's going to get all the touches. So I like him.
Yeah. Was this 70 catches an anomaly? I mean, he only had 22 the year before, 36 before that.
It was something they asked him to do so that he would be on the field on third down. So why? I think it's something that they're going to need still.
One thing to be concerned is his offensive line is below average. He did average more yards per carry than he did the previous year. He'd had just three 100-yard games, but when you have those receptions, your points pile up. A big reason he's over 1,000 yards because he had a big day against Denver. You guys remember that?
No.
Killed it.
225 yards rushing in one game.
Nope.
Mikey, just tell me a guy who's in front of him in your rankings and a guy that's behind him. Just to give us a little bit
in front, Joe Mixon, and back, Kenyon Drake.
Okay. Interesting. So let's get into this talk here. Let's talk about a little bit about philosophy. Do we feel that running backs are deep? Owners should be drafting those top? Should they go running back? Can you get a guy in the first, like one running back in the first 2 rounds and wait on a guy later? Should you need to get him early? What do you guys think we should do with running backs this year?
I don't think you should go back-to-back.
Why? Is that because you feel it's a deep position?
No, it's just it doesn't work.
What does that mean?
Well, I did a little research, and I teams that have made it to the last 4 teams there and teams that have won. And that strategy has... Are
you talking about the top 4, like the finish it, like the top 4 teams? So
Correct.
The championship game.
Correct.
Okay.
And that strategy just has not worked. So in the last 5 years, in the top 4 that went back-to-back, none of them have won a title. And here's the other thing. Going running back in the first round, and this was kind of surprising to me, in the last 10 years, only one time has somebody drafted a running back in the first round ever won the title.
They didn't. Who was that one?
Me.
And which running back was that? Tomlinson?
It was it was Eddie Lacy.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
So it wasn't.
Well, I mean, was it his good year? He had one good year.
No, it wasn't. It was the year after.
It was the year after he had a good year. That's why he was drafted in the first round. So what does that say to you?
It tells me
you should go wide receiver.
That there's something to going wide receiver in the first round.
So how many? Did you check to see how many times a wide receiver won a championship? I mean, that's a tall ask, but I'll ask if you have it.
So in the last 5 years, it's happened 3 times where a wide receiver has won the title.
So if it was only 3 times, and in running back it was once in 10 years, then what are we drafting?
So it's been receiver or quarterback
in the first round. Okay. So what are you recommending to the audience then today?
Do what you want. Whatever you feel comfortable.
So what you're saying, all that stuff you mentioned has no merit. Because they should still do whatever they want.
It's just a, penny for your thoughts.
What is Mikey doing this year?
Mikey doesn't know yet.
Mikey doesn't know yet. Todd, what do you think? Should people load up on running backs early? Should they just get one and then get another one later? What do you think? What are you doing?
I mean, I go running back in the first round, and then I go wide receiver. I think that's mine.
You stop the podcast just so you can get your water?
Well, you get COVID.
Oh, I'm sorry. You ate food in my house.
No,
I just touched all those cookies, so you got it if I got it.
Anyway, no. I go running back first round and wide receiver in the second. Get an elite. Get one of the top. Maybe one of the top running backs, and then get a top wide receiver, and then fill your team out the rest of the way there. Because at least you're guaranteed. Well, not guaranteed, and it's never guaranteed in fantasy sports, but at least you have your workhorse running back and your workhorse wide receiver, and then you fill your team out the rest of the way that way. And I think you can wait, get another not a top tier running back by any means, but maybe like a second or a third top tier running back that can complement your top tier your top running back. Same thing with wide receiver. So I don't think going back-to-back running back or back-to-back wide receiver or whatever the case is, just split it up. So go running back, then wide receiver.
Can you do that for all 12 picks in the first round? Go running back? Like every owner goes running back in the first round?
I mean, they should.
They should.
They should, because running backs, again, I'll say it again. I said at the beginning of the podcast, but running backs are not a dime a dozen. So
you're telling me if you're drafting 8th, 9th, 10th, or 11th, 12th, you're going to pick Kenyon Drake over Michael Thomas?
I think so, yes.
Oh, Todd Diamond. That seems – I mean, do we know how many points Michael Thomas scored, and then someone like Kenyon Drake, how many points that he scored?
But I think it's better when it comes to trying to find like another running back in later rounds than it is trying to find another wide receiver, because wide receiver is deeper than running back is.
If you're 12th, I don't mind it, because then you can just draft Michael Thomas 13.
There's the zinger right there. There's the zinger.
Interesting. It's an interesting theory. While I agree that if you have the opportunity to get a top elite running back, you should try to go for it. But I'm not taking someone like Joe Mixon over Michael Thomas, because then if you're doing that strategy, if you're like 10th and you draft and then Michael Thomas is there, and then it's, I don't know, let's say Joe Mixon, and you go Joe Mixon, and then the guy after you takes Michael Thomas, and then you go to the next round and he gets Michael Thomas and Kenyon Drake, and you get Joe Mixon and the next highest wide receiver, Chris Godwin. I mean, who would you rather have?
I mean, yes.
Thomas and Drake, or Joe Mixon and Chris Godwin?
I mean, Godwin definitely at least this year can put up big numbers.
But Michael Thomas numbers?
Close to Michael Thomas numbers.
Where do you have Mixon and Drake ranked?
I have bring it up there. I have Drake 9th, and I have Mixon 17th.
So yeah. So I know I'm just throwing out names, but do you see what I'm trying to say? That Michael Thomas scored 280 points in our league, where Kenyon Drake or Joe Mixon, they hit 180. And so you're giving up 100 points, and maybe, I guess I can I'd have to look it up, but in terms of wide receivers that, like Chris Godwin or who else you have in that kind of area, I don't know. I understand it's important to get a running back, but to throw away the Devontae Adams and the Julio Jones because of guys like Joe Mixon or Josh Jacobs, I think you're wasting points. Am I wrong on that?
No, I mean obviously, but I just think having a running back right off the bat, I think, just helps later down the road because you can find other wide receivers. Not that can't put up the numbers of Michael Thomas and the Julio Jones and the Devontae Adams, but if you can get 3 or 4 of them that can all combine, I'd rather have it that way than trying to go on the waiver wire for running backs during the season because I'm trying to find a starting one. So that's the way I kind of look at it.
Oh, you guys.
That was not. I mean, that's not as outrageous.
Come on. Mikey said some pretty crazy stuff in the wide receiver, but this is kind of goofy. To pass up on Michael Thomas because you want to get a running back in the first round when you can get a good one in the second round and still have Mike Thomas in the first round? Am I crazy, Mikey? Am I explaining this right?
Maybe you're not. I mean, because he's not getting it.
Let's just move on.
If drafting a running back for the sake of drafting a running back, I think is wrong. Just because it's a running back. Like, what if I was like one of the running backs left? Like, you wouldn't take me over an all-pro guy. I mean, just because I'm a running back, it's not right. It's wrong drafting.
Like, I see your point. It's important to get a running back,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not passing up on points just to get one. It's about points. It's who's going to score a point. That's what fantasy is all about. And while it's harder, you're right, it's harder to find. Running backs aren't deep as wide receivers, but I'm not passing up on an elite wide receiver just to have a running back. Like, I can still get a good running back in the second round as opposed to Michael Thomas, in the first round. But let's just keep moving. Where are we at here? Do you draft your top running backs handcuffed? That's a conversation that happens in fantasy podcasts and on magazines and on TV shows. What do you think about handcuffs? Are you drafting your top running back handcuff? I gave you this question like a week ago. You don't have the answer for that yet? You're thinking about it on the spot?
No, I'm not thinking about it on the spot.
Yes, you are.
It just depends on who the running back is, who the top tier running back is. If it's a running back that
Where are you drafting this year? 7th, right?
7th, yes.
You already know he's taking a running back.
We know you're taking a running back.
Yeah.
So if the running back is Dalvin Cook, are you drafting his backup?
Absolutely, because he's injury prone. Compared to maybe Zeke, I'm not drafting his handcuff.
Why is that?
Because Zeke injuries with Zeke haven't been as rampant, and he's still just except for suspensions for doing stupid stuff. But other than that, Zeke's gonna be on that field every down. So I'm not gonna worry about his handcuff. Even this year with COVID, Zeke. I'm just not drafting his handcuff.
He's already had COVID, right? Just
Yeah.
setting the record
Yeah.
straight. He had COVID, right? What do you think, Miguel? My guy, Miguel. You're not
So
my guy today.
I feel like Todd's right in a sense that it depends on who the handcuff is. So, like, especially in situations like Indianapolis where you don't really know who's going to be the guy there. Detroit, you don't really know. You kind of want to have both so you can kind of get it right either way. Denver's another one where you probably would want to double up on that because Melvin Gordon is, it's going to happen at some point where he gets hurt and Lindsey's going to be the big beneficiary of that. But in most cases, if you're drafting Aaron Jones, then what's the point? You just take Aaron Jones. You don't need Jamal Williams on top of it. It's like a waste of a pick,
So in essence, what you're saying is there's probably better guys to draft
Yeah.
than Jamal Williams or A.J. Dillon, depending on who you think his backup is. But you're probably drafting just the better, higher-ranked running back as opposed to the guy's handcuff itself.
Yeah, if I'm drafting Leonard Fournette, what do I need with the other piece of garbage behind him?
That's my answer. That's my answer. Is I'm just going to draft the highest next running back. I get like the Dalvin Cook, and he's injury prone, so maybe pick up Madison, but I'll draft Madison if he's my highest ranked running back. So it just depends on where I have them ranked. All right, well, let's get into the players themselves. As we did with Michael Thomas, do we agree that McCaffrey's the number one running back?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not close.
Okay. Who's number two? And I gave you guys these three options between Barkley, Zeke, and Kamara. And I guess if you have someone outside of that at your number 2, I'm fine to listen to that too. Oh, there's Mike giving me the look, which means he might have someone outside those top 3. We'll start with Todd first. Let me slowly ease into this. Who's your number 2 overall running back?
Barkley. Saquon Barkley.
Tell me why.
He's obviously he's runs, catches, everything. I mean, obviously that Giants offense, it's still kind of work in progress because their wide receivers aren't elite, and and obviously Saquon can help Daniel Jones obviously in his second year. So Saquon, checks all the boxes. So there's in some degree you couldn't go wrong if you chose Saquon over McCaffrey to some degree. I mean, people wouldn't totally go, what's wrong with you? It'd be like picking, I don't know, Aaron Jones over McCaffrey. That would probably be some like, what the hell's wrong with you? But either Saquon or McCaffrey couldn't go because both of them can check all the boxes on that stuff.
All right. Last year for Barkley, 22.1 touches per game from week 3 on in 2019, ranked 4th in NFL at running back in those 22.1 touches. He did deal with some ankle injury stuff early, but kind of came on late. Is Barkley your number 2 overall?
No.
Okay. Who's your number 2?
Dalvin Cook.
Okay.
With Barkley, just real quick,
Sure.
part of it's just uncertainty for me on how Joe Judge is going to run this thing. I just don't know. So it was hard for me to put him there. With Cook, I know Minnesota's going to run. They showed it last year with this Kubiak offense in there. They're going to run it. They're going to run it a lot. He's going to be in there on 3 downs. He's going to be in there in the red zone. He's going to catch passes. I'm accounting for him staying healthy. He was healthy most of the year. He just got a little banged up at the end, but he was awesome last year. Like, I mean, I had him on my team, and maybe I've got a bias because of that. But, I mean, the guy had 6 games over 20 points. Like, he was a monster.
Yeah. I think that's what Minnesota was hoping that he would be. So.
Yeah, Cook, he played in 14 games, got banged up late. 1,100 yards, 13 touchdowns, 53 receptions, 519 receiving yards. He has missed 19 games the last 3 years, and that'll just kind of make me ask, why would you not take Zeke?
Contract year, too.
Because, sure, and I have that on here too. But, I mean, for someone like Zeke who has never really been injured, why would you take that chance?
Because I believe that Dallas is not going to really run as much as they normally do.
I mean, they have the same offensive coordinator.
Same
last
coordinator,
year.
but different coach, and I believe he's going to have influence on that. I mean, if you look at Mike McCarthy's track record, I mean, in Green Bay, they never, like, it's almost polar opposite of the way Dallas always was. Dallas was always like a top 10 team in carries every single year when they've had Zeke. McCarthy never, ever was that. They were always top 10 in passing attempts. And they just added CeeDee Lamb on top of that. So I don't think that Zeke's going to get to 300 carries this year. I think he's going to fall short of that.
Has McCarthy ever had a back even remotely close to Zeke, though? Like, why would you take the ball out of his hands?
I mean, you have that into account. He likes to throw.
And you can throw it to Zeke.
And
he caught 70 balls like 2 years ago.
And they've got all these weapons. Like, I just think they're going to use them.
Yeah, because really, the running back that they had when McCarthy was the coach at Green Bay when their Super Bowl year wasn't even close to what Zeke is. But I do agree. I do agree with you.
I think it's more of a passing team than a running team now.
I don't know. I just don't see, and I don't know. Maybe McCarthy comes in and changes what he wants. But I mean, did they make the playoffs last year?
No, they didn't.
They didn't make the playoffs. So maybe they changed something. So they do make the playoffs. I mean, everything's in line. Great offensive line. I mean, you still give him the ball, but you figured it's just not going to be to the level of Dalvin Cook. That's what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
What do we think about Camara, Corvette, whatever, Camaro? He finished, I should mention this, Dalvin Cook finished 5th in our league last year. Zeke finished 2nd in our league. Barkley finished 10th, but that was because he was injured for 3 games. And then McCaffrey obviously finished 1st. golly, I just can't say his name today. Kamara finished 11th. Do we like what he's going to do this year? What are your thoughts on Kamara in 2020?
I've got him 6th. So, I mean, he's always going to get you the receptions. I don't think you worry really about that. He's going to be somewhere in the high 70 to low 80 range. But he doesn't get enough carries for me to where it makes him a little touchdown dependent. So that's why I don't really have him in that top 5, although he's close. But I still like him.
I have him 4th. Is he still? Does he still play with Drew Brees?
Yeah.
Yep. There you go. That's all. Drew Brees, besides going throwing to Michael Thomas, that's Drew Brees' second target on the team. So, again, Kamara is another one of those players, runs and catches. That's what you want. You don't want just a running back that's just gonna run run forward. You want a running back that can catch, and Kamara can do that. And especially in a dome. We always believe, I always say, it's an advantage playing inside of a dome. That helps a lot.
He had, in 2018, Kamara had 34 rush attempts inside the 10-yard line. Last year, just 14. Do you know who else had 14 last year? It was Latavius Murray as well. So, obviously, the 5 rushing touchdowns and 1 receiving touchdown, I could see why a lot of people would be afraid to take Kamara. He's last year he started off pretty slow. I remember he had 2 touchdowns in the first, I think 10 weeks of the season, but then he came on strong and scored 5 in the final 3. So I mean, maybe the rush total is low. I mean, he had just under 800. Could he get back to 1,000? I don't know. That's a good question.
Well, I think it's a shift too because Ingram is better than Latavius Murray. So they when Ingram was there, they were more of a running team. When he left, they became more of a passing team again. So I think they're still more of a passing team, and they just added Emmanuel Sanders to that. So to me, that just means it's another weapon. It just means they're going to be more reliant on the pass.
And who knows too if they decide to to decide to run the ball a little bit more too, so it doesn't put a lot of so it takes a little wear and tear off of Drew Brees. So he's maybe somewhat
Are you
fresh.
countering my point? I just told you they're going to pass more.
No, I'm saying run the ball more.
And I'm saying they're going to pass the ball more.
Well, then, all right then.
We'll move on to the next question. I think I'm going to skip number 3 here. We'll go to number 4. Is Derrick Henry a first-round pick in our PPR league?
No.
Yes.
Okay. Why not? Why not, Todd?
I think just the fact because he doesn't catch a lot of balls, and I think that whole Titans team is gonna have a a little bit of a relapse a little bit because I think they're gonna pass. I think they're gonna pass a little bit more as well, and I think Derrick Henry is gonna slow down just a little bit. So, I mean, obviously first round, not even close. I mean, now this case, I would take a top tier wide receiver over Derrick Henry, if that.
So Todd doesn't like Derrick Henry. Doesn't catch a lot of balls. He didn't catch a lot of balls last year, and he finished 4th in our league. But can he do it again, or are you saying he's just going to regress and not put up the same number?
I think he's going to regress.
Mikey, what do you think?
I think he is worth a first-round pick just based on volume alone. He's got nobody to challenge him whatsoever in that backfield. I think Tennessee knows what works for them, which is pounding him. I think he's a guy that easily you could see, if he stays healthy, hitting that 300 carry mark. And touchdowns are an important thing. So while he's not getting the receptions, I mean, he led the league in team percentage of touches inside the 10 at 82%. So when it's down there, you know who's getting the ball. You know what they want to do. They want to run the ball, and you should feel comfortable with him getting it. I mean, this guy had just a crazy year last year. 12 games that were 10 plus. He had this, and 7 of those games he had 20 or more points in last year.
Yeah. Do you feel his 18 touchdowns are going to come down? That's a big number for anybody.
It is, but I mean, I think that's what they want to do. So even if it does come down, I don't see it drastically coming down. So I don't think it's going to be like 18-8 or anything like that. I still think he's in the double digits.
Any concern that they lost their starting right tackle to another team because of contract? Bringing in a rookie to replace him?
It's a concern, but I think Tennessee's one of those teams that they know their identity. And they know what they want to do. Like, even when teams tried, you saw in the playoffs when teams knew they were going to run, and even still, I mean, if you feed him the ball, eventually he wears teams down, and that's really when he goes off, is in second halves of games.
Did he wear you down? For as much as you hated him last year, has he wore you down? I mean, first round pick, I would say yes. Where do you have him ranked?
Third.
Overall?
Yes.
Interesting. I agree. Darrington Evans is his backup, and he's a rookie, so he's the only guy in that whole offense. Got to turn my page here. Is there a guy in the first round that has big bust potential? Any guys you're worried about that's going in the first round? And I kind of gave you guys out of McCaffrey, Barkley, Kamara, Elliott, Cook, Edwards-Helaire, Miles Sanders, Kenyon Drake. And that's just based on other people's rankings, not my rankings. But out of those guys, are you worried about them not providing first-round value?
I'll go first. Miles Sanders for me.
Okay.
I just, like, I get it. He's in his second year. He showed some flash at the end of the year. But he's on a team that wants to throw. Philly, they're just a team that throws the ball a ton. That I worry about him getting enough carries each game to be a first-round pick. I mean, he flashed in like 3 of his last 5 games, but 2 of those games were against the Washington and against Miami, who were both bottom 5 against running backs last year. So, I mean, that's part of the reason why. He's already kind of banged up right now. I mean, I'm sure he'll be okay, but, I mean, that's a concern for me as well. I think first round for him is a little bit of a stretch. Like, he'll be better than last year, but I think first round's a little stretch for me.
From weeks 11 to 16, as Mikey kind of alluded to, he scored the 3rd most fantasy points behind McCaffrey and Zeke. He averaged 18.5 touches and 95.4 total yards per game in those final 8 games. So he's got some upside, and you talk about throwing the ball. I don't know if they have anybody to throw to. If you're talking about Alshon Jeffrey not being able to finish, you got Ertz, and then his backup Goddard, and then maybe he's the 3rd guy.
It's not about people to throw to. It's the philosophy of the offense, and Doug Peterson likes throwing.
Sure. But, I mean, all those wide receivers were injured last year.
Yeah, and they continued to throw the ball.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not saying that's wrong, but Miles Sanders can catch the ball.
And it got Carson Wentz killed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he played a whole season, considering when he gets killed, he misses games. But, I mean, he did catch 50 of 63 targets, Miles Sanders. So I think he can catch the ball. Yeah. He may not run for 1,000 yards.
Which is the worry.
But, I mean, I'm not saying he's going to put up Kamara numbers. But, I mean, if Kamara's top 10, he could be close to that.
If you would have said second-round pick, I would have been like, okay, I could maybe see that. But first round, that's, to me, a little bit too much.
Okay. What about you, Todd? Is there someone that's going in the first round that I think has big bust potential?
Josh Jacobs for the Raiders.
Was he one of the guys I put in the list here? I don't think he's going in the first round. But tell me why Josh Jacobs is a bust guy.
I think obviously he's his second year, and I think he's going to regress. You don't know how that Raiders offense is going to be, because they're not even – John Gruden's not even sure about David Carr to some degree. They did draft a rookie wide receiver in Henry Ruggs, maybe to open the passing game up a little bit. But I just see Josh Jacobs just regressing, having sophomore slump in that offense.
If we want to stick and talk with Jake about Jacobs, he has one of the best offensive lines in the league. He won't catch a lot of balls. But, I mean, he put up a pretty good year in his rookie year. Mikey, where do you have him ranked, and do you like Josh Jacobs?
I think Josh Jacobs is all right. I've got him ranked 15th.
Okay.
Which is not bad. It's not definitely not first round, but I like him. He's a 3-down back there.
Yeah, finished third in rush yards per game behind Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb. He does face the fourth toughest schedule if you talk about going into this year. So we'll see how that goes. And he's got Jalen Richard there, DeAndre Washington left. If you think Devontae Booker is something to worry about, then it's his job. It would be nice to see his receptions kind of go up a little bit. But I think he'll still rush for a ton of yards, and I think 7 to 9 touchdowns are pretty viable. Is Edward and let's talk about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Are we worried about him busting? A lot of people, now that Damian Williams is gone, I've seen him top 6th overall running back. Is that where people like Mikey have him? Is that why you're smiling over there? Well, people are saying he should be a first-round running back. Do you agree?
I don't.
Okay.
I've got him 13th in my rankings. It's the same thing like as Miles Sanders. Again, it's a passing team. And I'm not even confident that Edwards-Helaire is going to be on the field for all 3 downs. I mean, they want to use him, but, like, how do they want to use him? Right now they have him, running kicks even. So to me that's telling me that he's not going to be – he's going to be a weapon for sure, but a 3-down back, I'm not confident in that. So, I mean, I think he's going to be good, and Andy Reid running backs are always good, but I think they're going to mix in – Darrell Williams and DeAndre Washington. They're going to get carries. So for me, first round, it's too much.
But Mikey, in the intro of this podcast, you say that running backs in Andy Reid's offense is fantasy gold. Is he not gold? Is he silver?
They are, but he's also a rookie.
Sure. I'm just telling you what your statement said. I'm not saying what I'm saying. I'm just repeating what you're saying. Maybe we need to update the intro.
He's gonna be he's gonna be a playmaker. He's gonna be exciting to watch. But I mean, to put him like first round, like I mean that
people are doing it. I'm telling you. This ain't me. I'm saying people are so enamored with that Chiefs offense that can score a lot of points. They make running backs catch the ball and put them in positions where they're gonna score points. And they've succeeded. I mean, you went through the list a couple years ago, or maybe last year, when it was Brian Westbrook and LaShawn McCoy, Damian Williams in the last couple of years. I mean, so it's in front of us. But, I mean, I agree. He's not first round, but a lot of people are doing it.
I don't know how other people feel, but, like, when I draft, especially running backs in the first round, my immediate thought is, if I'm going week to week, is this a guy that I can count on to where I'm getting 15 to 20 every week? Can I count on that? Because that's from a first round pick. That's what I expect. Can I count on that from a rookie guy that may not be on the field at all times? No.
We've seen rookies, though,
but
drafted in the first round and succeed. Leonard Fournette, Zeke.
Right, but there's a difference between success and that consistency, I guess, is what I'm trying to parlay. I expect him to have games where you're just like, all right, look at this, 25 points. This is fantastic. But I would have to prepare myself. There may be days where you're like, man, Edwards-Helaire is 6 points. This is crap, man. Hey, it's just there's growing pains in
Let me ask you this. If it was Damian Williams, and he was the guy with no one behind him, would you put him in the first round?
No.
Okay. Todd, what do you think about Clyde? God, I can never get his name right. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. What do you think about him?
I mean, the one thing with, because obviously he's a rookie, the one thing, rookie running backs are the easiest to translate over into the NFL because it's really simple. And the fact, too, I have him ranked number 11th in my rankings. And the fact that I think he's already going to a team that's already loaded already. He doesn't have to be the main guy, the main focus on that team. So that might help him in some cases where, okay, teams are going to focus on Tyreek Hill and Kelsey and Patrick Mahomes. So that might actually help him when it comes to catching and running. that he might just get lost in the fold and actually might be able to get you consistent, maybe not 15 to 20, but maybe at least 10 to 13 points a week, every week. So I think he's in a great opportunity. If he was the main guy, if he was the main focus, then it's, depending on how the team is constructed, because again, he's not Zeke, he's not Saquon. I'll say that right now. He's not that running back. So, but I think he's going into a better situation where you'd feel comfortable, maybe not drafting him in the first round, but maybe toward that end of the first round into the second. But I wouldn't totally just toss him aside, because he's going into an offense that scores a lot of points. So why not?
I couldn't tell if he was like excited for Edwards-Helaire or if he shouldn't be excited. Like he was kind of in the middle. Like, yeah, he shouldn't be going the first, but he's decent. Like, he scores a lot of points, but I would put him in the first round. But he's really good. I'm so confused. But you have him 11th, right?
Yes.
Okay. It's 2019. Edwards-Helaire had 1,700 total yards and 17 touchdowns and a pretty prolific offense over there.
See, stacked offense.
Let's continue.
All right.
A guy that I wanted to talk about that has been all over the fantasy map in terms of where experts are drafting him is Aaron Jones. Obviously, the big caveat, however you say it, is them drafting the Packers drafting A.J. Dillon in the second round, and I think that might be scaring some experts. Some experts think that he still should go in the first round. There's some that say he should go in the third round because A.J. Dillon is there, and they're going to give him less touches, and his touchdowns are going to come down. So they're totally deciding that Aaron Jones is not maybe a top 15. I've seen him go as late as 20 in terms of running backs. But what do you guys think of Aaron Jones? We'll start with Mikey.
I've got him 10.
Okay.
For me, the biggest thing is the touchdowns. Like to me, it's almost like it was the biggest part of his season. Like you look at his yards and his receptions, and it's good. But what really put him over the top was 16 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. Like, to me, I've played this in my head. There's no way he can get back to that. Like, I just have to think there is some sort of regression coming there. So, I mean, he's a guy that finished second in our league. So just based on that one thing alone, I had to drop him down to 10th because I think that number more realistically is like 9 or 10 as opposed to 16.
He actually had 19 if you include his 3 passing or 3 receiving touchdowns. So, I mean, 19 is a lot. And in 39 seasons of players hitting that 19-plus touchdown mark, only 7 players have posted 2 such seasons. I don't have that number because I read that stat on Twitter somewhere, so I don't know who those 7 players are. But it's only been done twice. Or excuse me, only 7 players have posted 2 such seasons. So 7 out of the 39 that have done it have done 2 19-plus touchdown seasons. So it's definitely hard to replicate. Todd, you had Aaron Jones, right?
Yes.
Yes. So you're very loyal to Aaron Judge, right?
Yes.
Or Aaron Jones, excuse me, and Aaron Judge, but Aaron Jones too.
Yeah, you can't forget Judge. No.
So. What do you think about Aaron Jones trying to be as biased as possible?
That's gonna be difficult.
That's gonna be difficult. At least you can admit it. I'll give you credit for that.
Hey, I try. I have him 5th in my rankings, top 5. Obviously, yes. I mean, 16 touchdowns last season. You think, it's regression is coming, but you know what? Go bold prediction right here. Aaron Jones gets 18 touchdowns. Rushing touchdown, rushes for 1,200 yards, and he has, I'll say 400 yards receiving, and 4 receiving touchdowns. There it is, right there.
So did you say 18 rushing touchdowns
18.
and then 4 passing, so 22 total touchdowns?
Yes.
One stat that
Okay.
scared me, and I like Aaron Jones,
Okay.
but one stat that scared me was Jones saw 13 carries or less in 11 of 16 games, which says 2 things. It shows how incredibly efficient he can be with the very minimal carries. But that's very minimal carries, right? Usually these top running backs are getting somewhere between 15 and 18, even maybe 20 rushing. So that scares me in the fact that if they bring A.J. Dillon, does that take those 13 and make it 10?
Well, yeah, he's not a big guy, so they
Right.
do try and protect him.
So that scares me a little bit. I think I have him 9th, so pretty close to where Mikey has him. But I don't know. That stat, I figured it was higher than that. I mean, they used Jamal Williams too last year, and he was good. Is it going to hurt his fantasy stats? I mean, it could be similar, but I don't know what A.J. Dillon's going to. I'm not super concerned about A.J. Dillon. He's a different type of running back. He may steal some goal line carries. At the same time, if they're trying to get back to the Super Bowl, you kind of do what you did similar to last year. You want to save him because it's the playoffs, right? You don't want to. He's not a fantasy owner. He's not just running him into the ground. But I feel like people are kind of shitting on him just because of A.J. Dillon and because of the touchdown regression. Even if you took some of those touchdowns away, he's still a top 10 running back.
I mean, granted, too, four of those touchdowns came against Dallas last year too, as well. So that I understand that number can be skewed a little bit too, as well.
I mean, he's a good running back.
Well,
right?
yeah. Well, yeah.
Am I? Did I not see that last year? I mean, we like to talk about the eye test. I feel like he did well in the eye test, right?
There was at least 3 or 4 games where he had 20+ points each week. So
5.
5.
Yep, 5 over 20 plus.
5. So it's more of, and I think too, a little bit too, is they kind of sometimes held him back a little bit. Not now. I don't know if it was the fact of because the way he's built, because they wanted to protect him a little bit, but they felt like there was some games where they just held him back and they didn't do very well. But when they just let him go, I mean, #free Aaron Jones, he was great. So yes, I mean, I'm looking at that factor. The fact, yes, there's always regression in anything, but I just think Aaron Jones is still. I think last year wasn't an anomaly. I think he can build on that. I think they can build on regardless of the drafting. I mean, Jamal Williams, okay, is kind of a big goal line back. A.J. Dillon, great running back. I mean, he was okay at Boston College, but am I worried about him taking a big chunk of Aaron Jones, carries or whatever the case may be? No, not to a point where I'm thinking, oh, what I shouldn't have drafted Aaron Jones that high to some degree. So I feel very confident. I feel very confident that he's going to build on what he did last year.
The one thing I will say
Right.
that they drafted A.J. Dillon in the 2nd round because they're not going to pay Aaron Jones after this season, and so it'll be easier for them to say goodbye when they have a 2nd round pick on their team. So that could be a big reason why they drafted a 2nd round running back. I did do some math, which is very tough for someone in journalism world, but I put if you take 6 touchdowns away from Aaron Jones, that's 36 points minus the catches. It's just 36 based on the touchdowns. He still would have finished 6th overall. So I get the touchdown regressions is gonna happen. I don't know. I just feel like people are just not giving him enough credit. Maybe that's just me. Okay, let's go to our we always like to do love and hate on this game. Give me, where are we at? I don't know if we have enough time. Well, we'll just go. Mikey, give me one running back you love.
Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon, interesting. Tell me why. I hate him, so it'll be a good conversation.
Well, again, it's a situation where there's nobody behind him. So I like that. I mean, it's consistent. They always gave him the ball inside the 20. I believe Cincinnati's offense is actually going to be better than it was last year. 2nd year in the offense. I know it's a rookie quarterback coming in, but I actually kind of think that Joe Burrow is going to be okay. And
Where do you have him ranked? I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt
Joe
you.
Mixon?
Yeah.
7th.
Okay. Continue.
Yeah, so 3 down back, I believe that he is. He was pretty consistent last year. He didn't have like a bunch of like breakout games, but I mean, consistency wise, he had 9 games that were 10 plus, and in fact, all those 9 games he was actually 15 plus. So I mean, that was pretty good. If Green's healthy, I think that opens it up for him too. So he's a guy I'm taking higher than most.
I had him 12th. Man, the offensive line is bad. It's so bad. There's talks that there's upside to the unit, but they didn't play very well last year. It doesn't mean they won't be good this year, but I mean, I don't think they're going to reach bounds in terms of being better. Man, I don't know. I mean, his receiving totals, I feel like for what he's capable of, and if that's the offense, then he's just not going to be a high catch guy. I think that would help if he could get up to the 40s and maybe even 50s. That could be just based on bad offense. Like, I feel like stuff I've seen from him, he's able to catch a ball and make guys miss. He's got talent, for sure. And he actually saw improvement in the run game for his squad last year, 49% success rate from weeks 10 to 17. So there's upside to Joe Mixon, but it could be a bad offense. The offensive line's not great. He'll get all the carries because I know Mikey's not a Gio Bernard guy, and he's still around apparently. So, and they have that Trayvon Williams, who's I think he's a young I don't know if he's a rookie or second-year guy, but I'm not super big on Joe Mixon. But, I mean, I have him 12th, so he's still right there. 7th seems high, but I could see the upside too. Todd, give me someone that you love.
And this is kind of a love and a sleeper too, but Devin Singletary from Buffalo. Obviously, last year he overtook Frank Gore. Obviously, Frank Gore just keeps on going, but obviously, I mean, Singletary, I mean, he's only 5'7", so he's not exactly, more of a speedster. But obviously, last year he only had 775 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, caught 29 passes for almost 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. But I think this year, the way that I think he's gonna take a little bit of a leap. I think I'm gonna go 900 yards rushing, at least. I think like 7 rushing touchdowns, and receiving. I mean, I got him at 40 receptions. I think he may actually go 50, and then at least 400 yards receiving, and I'll go 4 touchdowns. So I like Devin Singletary.
Where do you have him ranked?
18th.
Okay.
So
they're in the run heavy offense. He seemed to catch the ball at a consistent pace. It's not great, but he had 6 games with 3 receptions or more in those final 10 games. Seems like he has a fumbling problem.
He does. He's actually was on my hate list. That's why.
Was it? Oh,
lovely.
Well, there you go. That's a perfect segue. Why do you not like him?
Well, part of it is the fumble problem, but the other part of it, and I watch Buffalo enough to know this, is that when they get down there in the red zone, and it's annoying if you've got him on your team. Josh Allen is the one that likes to run the ball down inside the 10, not Devin Singletary. So I have a hard time finding a way he's going to take this huge jump if he's not getting the ball, to be able to score touchdowns.
Yeah,
it's not any fault of his own. It's just the way they call plays.
But I think, too, if they want to keep Josh Allen healthy and upright, I think they might change that.
See, this is the mistake you always make. You think that the coaches think about these type things.
For Singletary, he had 7 games with 14 or more touches. And in those 7 games, he averaged about 13 PPR points per game in that span. So I think there's some upside for him. I don't think that offense is built to score a lot of points. They want to run the ball, control it, let the defense take care of some things. Maybe Stephon Diggs opens things up. But while I think there's upside for him, I don't know if it's a guy you love, and that's cool. He's got some upside to him for sure. A guy I like. And I have to find him on my list here. But, man, I don't know. I'm just enamored with DeAndre Swift. And what I saw in the video, he's got good hands. They're saying he already pass blocks really well. He runs the same system in college that he's running in Detroit now. And I like Carry-On just because what he's capable of. But, man, he just can't stay healthy. And I think this is going to open the door for Swift. I mean, I think I saw something where Carry-On's already got a brace on his knee. So he's already not 100%. So I feel like this guy's just going to get it right out of the gate. He's one of those running backs that I think can make a difference early. And I think that offense is going to be good. But that's
This is Matt Patricia we're talking about.
sure. But I mean, they were a top offense before Matt Stafford got hurt. So I feel like
I just meant like, so, and Aaron would know this, but like you would think that when Carrion was there, like he'd be the guy all the time, but Matt Patricia would be frustrating, and which he likes switching and maneuvering around his guys a lot.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of inconsistency as far as the amount of touches these guys get.
and he's a rookie too. So I mean, there's a lot of, especially with no preseason games. But I mean, he's a guy that I'll probably, depending on where he goes, he's a guy I'd probably take a flyer on just to see if it hits. I think I'd have to have 2 decent running backs ahead, but I'd be okay if he was my 3rd running back.
So you would you if he was your 3rd, but not like 1 or 2.
No.
Okay.
Oh, I mean, something must have went terribly wrong, or unless there was this wide receiver value. But he's a guy I think that could be a game winner. Maybe not in the early stages, but I think later stages he could be a running back that can make a difference.
So just patience.
He could be a Miles Sanders, and I wouldn't mind that as my wide receiver or running back 3.
Okay.
You mentioned one guy you hate, Mike. Do you have another guy you love?
Another guy that I love would have
Sure.
been Dalvin Cook, but I do have another guy that I hate.
Well, we talked about Dalvin Cook quite a bit already. Just give me a guy you hate then.
David Johnson, which I know is another guy Todd likes.
Is that your other guy that you liked?
Yeah.
You said that, right?
Yeah,
All right, so let Mikey go, and then you
Okay.
can talk about why
All
he's.
right.
Oh, when I watched David Johnson, he just looked fat and slow to me.
Where do you have him ranked?
David Johnson, let's see. How low did I have
Oh my
David
gosh.
Johnson? 23rd, so
Oh,
it's
that's
not
not
like
the worst. Okay.
it's not the worst, but yeah, he's just coming off injuries all the time. Looked fat and slow. I just don't believe in him anymore. And now he's going to Houston, and I'm sure he's going to get a decent amount of the majority of carries, but Duke Johnson's still there, so I'm sure that'll eat into some of the third down stuff. It's an eye test thing for me. And hey, maybe he got in shape, but I haven't seen it yet.
Todd?
So I have David Johnson ranked number 15th. I think it said just I always go back to it, new change of scenery, just something more to prove. He's capable of, running the rock and catching it. Can kind of be that, can almost be that, second or third wide receiver on the Texans, next to Brandon Cooks as well. So that's why I like David Johnson. And I know obviously it's the eye test thing, but I think just something else more to prove. That always has that extra niche. Always has that extra just motivation. Like, all right, let me go see if I can prove everybody wrong, kind of thing. And that helps. That helps in reality and fantasy. I don't care what he says. That always has a chip on somebody's shoulder. And they want to prove something wrong, and he's capable of doing it. He's going way back, in Arizona when he was in his heyday the first 3 years. He was freaking amazing. He did everything, and obviously, injuries and kind of declined a little bit. But I think this might be a year where he comes back to fantasy relevancy.
Are we concerned about the Houston Texans offense?
I am.
Well, this question was directed at you. You're not high on Will Fuller. You're not high on David Johnson.
Not high on Brandon Cooks.
Deshaun
either.
Watson is there. Someone's got to get the point. This team they've been to the playoffs 3 or 4 years in a row, right?
I'm not high on their offensive line. I'm not high on their coach. I think the world.
You have him 23rd, right? So there's something to the volume he's going to get, right? He's going to get the first 2 carries.
Yeah, so did Lamar.
Carlos Hyde's gone, right? And so they have Duke Johnson. He's the 3rd down back. So he'll get the first 2 and then goal line.
Yeah,
There's at least volume there.
So he'll be Carlos Hyde or Lamar Miller.
But a better version of both.
Maybe.
Carlos Hyde maybe in San Francisco days, but not Texans days. No.
I just still don't like if you watch the Texans, Deshaun Watson does so much for him. And his one thing that he always had when he got in trouble was DeAndre Hopkins. He always knew, if I ever get in trouble, I'm out of the pocket. I've got people chasing me. I can just try and stuff it in. that's not there anymore. They're going to have to get creative, and I just don't. When it comes to creativity and Bill O'Brien, it just doesn't fit together for me.
So, Todd, do you have a guy you love or hate that we haven't talked about yet?
Hate, I would probably go James Conner. I have him at 20. Now, the only reason is with Conner is it's just more of just injury prone. It's just the risk is I just don't want the risk in that. Obviously when he is on the field, he's great, but other than that, I'm just not a big fan. He has too many injuries. And obviously trying to find and especially his handcuff, gross. I don't think he's even on the team anymore. Samuel anymore. So Connor, I'm just staying away from.
So hate James Conner.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about James Conner?
I'm cool with him. I have him ranked 16. It's like all these other Steelers. It's all tied to Big Ben. Big Ben goes down, they all suck. Big Ben's there, they're all good. So. Yeah, I mean, Connor's somebody I think that you could take the risk on, and he could upside be a top 10 guy, just like we thought he was going to be last year.
Like I thought he was going to be last year.
It's still
it's
still possible.
It's still there.
Just,
once that offense is running on all cylinders, it's an amazing offense.
It is.
But all it takes is one cog to break, and that whole
very important
machine.
cog.
Yeah, for sure. He does run behind a top 10 offensive line. Obviously, the guys behind him aren't super, or guys that are a threat. Unless you really like Benny Snell or Jalen Samuels. They also drafted a guy in the 4th round, Anthony McFarland. Because of the bad offense, his yards per carry went from 4.0 to, went from 6.6. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. So his yards per carry dropped to 4.0, and in yards per target went to 6.6. So, but I mean, that's just a case of the offense just not working. So James Conner can be that guy that could be had later if people aren't high on him. You could draft him, and there's a lot of upside. His ceiling is super high. But if Big Ben goes down again, I mean, he's 38. He's not as old as Brady, but I mean, he's just been beat up way more than Brady.
I'll say this: if you're going to draft him, try and be smart about this and protect yourself. Don't take Conner and Smith-Schuster.
Okay.
One or the other. Because then, at least if one goes down,
the whole ship falls apart.
Right.
Then you're
the
like,
whole team falls apart.
Hey, here's the thing: if you do decide to take both, you might as well just take Ben on top of it.
Yeah. Might as well just. All right.
Yeah.
He's smitten with the Pittsburgh stack there.
Just swallowed one.
Is that still possible in today's age? How long you been swallowing now?
Very funny. All right, cool.
I think Todd's okay.
I think we're good. All right, let's just keep moving this going here. I told you guys to rank these 3 running backs as I have them pretty similar rankings, but between Todd Gurley, James Conner, Melvin Gordon, Mikey, rank those running backs for me.
I had Gurley 14th, Conner 16th, Gordon 21st. It's funny that you chose those 3 because they all kind of have the same kind of thing going with them, which is a little bit of injury prone with all 3 guys.
Yeah, I think that's why they're in that same. Their upside is huge, but I mean injuries can derail their season.
Gurley, I think of the 3, plays on the highest scoring offense, playing against the division that's going to put up the most points. He's playing on turf. He really doesn't have anybody behind him. So I think Gurley has the best chance of the 3 of scoring the most points. Gordon, I mean, Lindsey's still good. I think they're going to use both. So that's why I have him last. And then Conner, like we said, there's upside there, but there's some quarterback potential problems. Sure. So he kind of falls in between.
Rank those running backs, Todd.
Todd Gurley, 14th, Melvin Gordon, 16th, and James Conner, 20th.
Okay. Any thoughts on Todd Gurley? Why do you have him over the other 2?
I think it's just more of just the offense that he's in. Going from outside into a dome, I think that helps a little bit too. It's always a little bit of a factor, and I think. Not saying that when he was with the Rams that he wasn't in a high-powered offense, but I think going from for the Rams, I think they won't run as much. They won't run him as much into the ground as much as they did in LA. So I think Gurley just has the better situation.
I think Gurley's perfect for that system.
Mm-hmm.
Just in terms of Devontae Freeman
Mm-hmm.
could not score touchdowns for him.
No.
And Todd Gurley is a touchdown machine. 14, 21, and 19 touchdowns the last 3 years. And while that number has regressed from 21 to 14, that's a lot of touchdowns, even for a guy that they kind of babied a little too. So you may not get 1,000 yards and 500 receiving yards, but he'll get touches, and I think the touchdowns are going to help him out a lot. And that offensive line has improved. And Brian Hill is the next guy in terms of backups. So
Ito Smith.
yeah,
Ito Smith.
so,
That's right, Ito Smith.
I like Todd Gurley a lot. I had him ranked Todd Gurley 16th, Connor 17th, and Melvin Gordon 18th. Let's talk about – my next question was on Fournette, but we talked about Fournette. But let's talk about maybe Melvin Gordon a little bit. Mikey mentioned that Philip Lindsay's still going to be there. Are you worried about Philip Lindsay and Melvin Gordon, or should I let you finish your text first? Tell
No.
Mama that you'll be home in about half an hour.
No, I'm not worried because I think, like Mikey said, they're going to use both of them. I think now, since Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay are not like elite running backs, excuse me. I think they're just gonna, and I think that'll help both of them. I think that'll help both of their fantasy values because, in the sense that they'll both get receptions, they both can catch the ball out of the backfield just fine. Obviously, the goal lines are going to be the interesting one. Is Gordon going to get the majority of the goal lines compared to Philip Lindsay? I think it's going to be a split. I think they'll both get the opportunity when it comes to the goal line to get goal line touches. So,
can you tell me where you guys have Philip Lindsay ranked?
29th.
I've got him 27th.
Okay. Could there, and obviously this is a different offense, different coordinators, so, but I'm just going to ask it anyway. It seemed like Gordon and Eckler had a pretty good thing going. So in terms of trying to compare, like we saw Melvin Gordon finish 22nd in our league despite missing 4 games because he held out early in the season trying to get that next contract. And then Philip Lindsay, who finished 18th overall. Or wait a minute. See, now I'm confusing myself. So from Melvin Gordon to Eckler, and Eckler finished 6th in our league. Is that something similar we can see between those two? A high amount of volume in terms of what these running backs are putting out there? Or is the wide receivers outside of Keenan Allen, there really wasn't much. So a lot of offense had to go through the running backs, where now, the Broncos have some decent wide receiving options, tight end options. So we're not going to see the same volume out of those two running backs as we did when it was Gordon and Eckler.
I think they're going to try to find balance between that, even though, like I said, the wide receiver weapons in Denver compared to San Diego out of LA, are better. So I think they're still going to try to find a balance where they can run the ball more, where Gordon and Lindsay still have a good split when it comes to carries and catches and goal line touchdowns as well too. So I think they'll still try to find a balance there.
Well, look, I mean, I like Philip Lindsay, but he's a Colorado kid. That's great. But let's be honest. When it comes to like being a receiver, he's not anywhere near Austin Eckler's level. Let's not try and. It's not close.
He had 35 receptions and 48 targets last year.
Yeah, it's okay, but it's nothing special. They brought Melvin Gordon in here because Melvin Gordon could help catch the ball. Melvin Gordon is a short yardage guy, which we've always had problems with. Melvin Gordon's a goal line guy, which we've had problems with a lot. So I think that Gordon's going to be better because Gordon's going to get those touches down near the goal line. Lindsey's going to be all right, but Lindsey's there. The reason that I think Lindsey still stays in that top 30 is because it's inevitable, because of the way Gordon runs. At some point in the season, he's going to get banged up. He's going to miss time. Lindsey will be there to reap the benefits. That's the way I look at it.
I feel like Mikey says this at the beginning of every year. Melvin Gordon's going to get hurt.
It's
It
gonna
just happened.
It's gonna happen.
I feel like you said it like the last 5 years, and he's been right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, last year he missed 4 games because of holdout, but
Yeah.
played every game outside of that.
Yeah.
But more times than not, Mikey's been right
It's
about
the
it.
way it's his running style.
Pat Shurmur is our offensive coordinator, Broncos offensive coordinator, right?
Mhm.
Where was he at before?
New York.
Likes the bell cow off running back, right?
Yeah.
So that might it may mean something, maybe it doesn't. But they brought him in for a reason. They paid him, and it's only on a 2-year deal, so he's motivated to try to get that next deal too. Let's keep going. We're probably just way over time here, but we'll just keep going. Running back committees. My initial thought when putting this down was to make it difficult for. Well, I would think it'd be difficult to pick one of these two guys. I don't know if it was difficult going through these, but we'll talk about them anyway. Maybe the most, I don't know if controversial is the right word, but the one that's most up in the air could be that situation in Indianapolis. You have Jonathan Taylor, who was a second-round pick, and then you have Marlon Mack, who did run for 1,000 yards last year. Who would you guys prefer to have? Mikey, we'll start with you this time.
Again with these Colts players.
Oh, that's right. He's big anti-Colt, but you
Uh,
have to pick one.
I know. I intentionally put them right next to each other on my rankings because it's that hard to decide. I think they're just going to both be similar. So I've got Taylor above because I've kind of seen what Marlon Mack can do. I don't know. I honestly, this is a.
Wow,
It's
I don't know if I've ever heard Mikey say I don't know.
It's
before.
a crapshoot. It really is.
Coin flip.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're in that position and you could pick either one of them,
Then I
You said you
will
had-
take
you had-
the next
you had
person
Taylor.
on my list.
Todd, you are one of the bigger proponents for Jonathan Taylor just based on his collegiate career. Are you drafting him over Marlon Mack?
I'm still drafting Marlon Mack
Wow, that is
Oh.
incredibly surprising.
over Jonathan
Like
Taylor.
you love you even
know.
during his collegiate career, you were madly in love with this guy, but you're still taking Marlon Mack.
I'm still taking Marlon Mack over. I think he's.
Isn't the full moon out today? Is that what's really happening? Is
That
it like,
everything's-
are we howling at the moon? Is
Hey, you it could come with the surprises, you know.
I guess.
But no, Marlon Mack, just because, his all-around game is just a little bit better than Jonathan Taylor's not the best when it comes to reception-wise. When he was at Wisconsin, because Wisconsin, all they do is breed offensive linemen, and all you have to do is run behind it. But I like Marlon Mack just a little bit more, just because of his versatility a little bit. So I have Marlon Mack at number 28, and I have Jonathan Taylor at 34.
Marlon Mack doesn't catch the ball very well either. He just had 14 receptions last year. He has scored 18 touchdowns the past 2 years. In both years, he's finished as a top 20 running back. And I get that his ceiling's not high. Like Mikey said, you've seen it. It's not going to make you super excited to draft him. And so you have this young, flashy toy that comes in and produced incredible numbers at a big-time university and a big-time conference. Mack has averaged 4.4 yards per carry in his 3-year career. And he's got a little flash to him, too. He had a 63-yard run. He's had a few runs over 20 yards. Without the preseason, I think it might be difficult for Taylor to try to overtake him. I think they're going to give him plenty of opportunity.
Yeah.
But the offensive line is so good. I don't know if Marlon Mack can fail. Can he fail good in allowing Taylor to come in? I mean, I guess Taylor could just wow us, but that might take 4 or 5 weeks. So I'm taking Marlon Mack before. Now, I did say this. If my roster, it could be based on roster construction. If I feel like I have 3 good running backs, maybe 2 really good ones, and I have the option for both, maybe I take a flyer on Taylor because maybe he ends up overtaking him as the season goes along because he's young. He's got that flash to him. So maybe if I feel good about it, I take the chance on a guy that has the opportunity to be better. But if I'm in a desperate situation and I don't like my running backs, then I'd probably take Marlon Mack first. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How about the Chicago Bears offense? Ooh. No one's excited about the Bears. David Montgomery or Tariq Cohen? Todd, we'll start with you this time. Who would you rather have?
David Montgomery. I think he runs better between the tackles than Tariq Cohen. I mean, he's more of that passing down back, but David Montgomery I like a little bit more. I think I like his ceiling just a little bit more. I have David Montgomery number 23rd in my rankings. So I like him a little bit more. I think he's more of a complete back.
Had two 100-yard games all last season. He did have 10 games with 14 or more carries. What do you think about David Montgomery and Tariq Cohen?
Not excited about either, but it put a gun to my head. I'll take Montgomery.
The gun's going to be there on draft day.
Yeah, I mean, Cohen's like one of those guys, again, where you just kind of have to decide when to use him. I mean,
yeah.
And that's a difficult situation to be in. It's just like, I mean, if I play Montgomery, at least he'll get touches. I know that. If I play Cohen, I don't really know what he's going to do. I have to kind of play the guessing game. So give me Montgomery.
Tariq Cohen, just a couple years ago, and I don't have this number in front of me, but he was a top 20, I want to say, running back. But his touchdowns were just through the roof. I think he had like 12 touchdowns, and that regressed all the way to 3. And they don't use him. He had 64 attempts, so I believe that's smaller than what he had before the year previous. I mean, 79 catches looks good, but you got to be able to throw more touchdowns than 3. So, I mean, I'm with you guys in the same boat. David Montgomery, I'm going to give him the chance before Tariq Cohen. Man, that quarterback situation and the offensive line, yeah, if I don't have to, but at some point, touches is touches. I already kind of told you guys what I think about DeAndre Swift and Kerryon Johnson. What do you guys think? Who are you drafting first, Todd? Mikey first, sorry.
It's kind of the same boat as with the Colts. It's like kind of crapshoot kind of deal. I have Swift just ahead of Johnson on my list, but, I mean, confidence level's not that high when it comes to either one of those two guys. I've got one 31, the other 32. It's not a ideal situation when it comes to the draft with either of those two for me.
What about you, Todd?
I have Swift over Johnson. I have Swift number 30. Obviously, like I said, more of the upside with him and his playmaking ability as well. So,
man, these are just not exciting running back by committees, are they? All right, let's try this one. Maybe this is a little more exciting. Tevin Coleman or Raheem Mostert? Run-heavy offense, right? Team that went to the Super Bowl. Matt Breida's out of the way. Some more touches for these guys. What about you? Who do you like better, Todd?
Mostert. I think he's a little bit more explosive, especially in the 49ers offense. Tevin Coleman, if you had him in that Atlanta's offense, I would probably pick Coleman. But Mostert, I think I have Mostert at 26 and I have Coleman at 32. So I'd go Mostert. Man,
if only Tevin Coleman was in the Chiefs offense. I don't know why you say stuff like that. Why does it even matter?
I'm just saying, just when you're going from different offenses, I think Coleman's just better in Atlanta than he is with the 49ers.
So Todd has said Raheem Mostert over Tevin Coleman. Do you agree?
I agree, and this one was more easier for me for sure. Mostert broke out late, and he was just fantastic down the stretch for them. I think he's the number one guy. I know they tend to switch guys around quite a bit, but the running back in the Shanahan offense, I think they paid him even too. So, I mean, it shows that there's a little bit of belief there. I think he's the number one guy. I've got him as 20th overall in my rankings.
20th?
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
I think he's going to be awesome.
I don't think they paid him more than Tevin Coleman, though, did they?
They paid Coleman more.
No, but, I mean, I would honestly think they regret paying Coleman what they paid him, but that's just me.
But, I mean, and I'm playing devil's advocate, but Tevin Coleman has a history, has more experience, more durability. If Mostert has shown us just half a season.
I feel like we go through this every year with Tevin Coleman. I really do. and then he never really pans
Just because
out.
I like Jerick McKinnon, okay?
Every year we go through this with Tevin Coleman, and he never pans out. He's just kind of he's okay, but if you're asking me which one I'd rather have, I mean, to me it's just like eye test tells me it's Mostert easily, not close for me.
It's not close. I don't have Mostert up at 20th, but Tevin Coleman I have 39th.
Yeah, I mean,
he can get the goal line carries, but Mostert definitely showed us something. He's more exciting to own. Like Tevin Coleman's like a 4th, 5th running back that if he's there and you're still waiting to get your kicker, then maybe you take him in the 15th round or something. But it'll be interesting to see if Mostert can do it. I mean, he's never really had a full season, and Mostert had 8 touchdowns. Mostert had only 40 attempts and 1 touchdown before last season. But the upside, you can't ignore it. Like he just looks really good. We're kind of running up against it. We won't talk. I mean, who would you rather have quickly, Jordan Howard or Matt Breida?
Jordan Howard.
My gut says I like Breida better, but I think that Howard will be better.
I just think they're going to give Howard more touches. And
Yeah.
Breida's going to be kind of the third down back.
Agreed.
And once Howard gets hurt, which is probably inevitable, but if you're asking me who am I drafting first, Howard. I had some backup running back talk. Just give me one of these you like. Phillip Lindsay, Kareem Hunt, Chase Edmonds, or J.K. Dobbins. Who would you rather have? Todd?
Phillip Lindsay.
Okay, we kind of talked about Lindsay. Todd, Mikey?
I kind of like Kareem Hunt. I mean, I had, Chubb outside my top 10 because I think that Hunt's good enough where they're going to give him the ball on third down and not Chubb.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt's interesting. He did put up a ton of numbers, obviously, because he was out 8 games. And I think they were so used to using Nick Chubb that they didn't unleash him. They could unleash him, though. And that's going to hurt Nick Chubb. Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see. There's so many running backs. We went through a lot of them, and we'll have a couple more shows to talk about other guys. But man, so that is a lot of running backs. Important to get some of the top ones, as Todd says, but it looks like there's guys you can get later and still be able to help your fantasy team. You feel good about that, or do you feel like it's important to get a couple in the first 3-4 rounds?
I think you can find guys along the way.
Okay.
Some of these younger guys, this is what always happens. Somebody's going to break. You just have to be lucky to find the guy that does it.
DeAndre Swift. He's going to break them tackles, son.
I mean, he's got the talent. He's just got the talent. I don't know. It's Detroit. You just never know what you're going to get.
At some point, they're going to have to do well. They were doing well last year offensively. I know you hate Kenny Galladay, but
and Matthew Stafford.
I love Kenny Galladay.
Kenny Galladay is the man.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. And that's how Todd's going to end things here. So next time on the show, I guess we'll talk about tight ends. We're not going to talk about kickers. We're not going to talk about defenses. But we'll talk about tight ends, and maybe we'll do some bold predictions. Maybe we do one more show before the draft. The draft's only like 2 weeks away. So maybe we do one more where it's like bold predictions or
a mock draft.
I guess we could. That's a good call. We could do a mock draft for sure. So look, now you're contributing to the podcast. Thank you. It just took 3.5 years or however long we've been doing this. So cool. So for Mikey Renault, Todd Diamond, and Merrick Lansing, have a good weekend.